Hello, everybody, and welcome back to that Milan podcast. Happy New Year to everybody. First podcast of the new year, I believe, because we did the live stream after Cagliari. But as always, Martino, Matt, alongside me, and a very special guest today that we've been hoping to get on for quite some time is our good friend Fabrizio from Oldheart, or aka Oldheart Rossonero, on his channel, a channel that I've been on before. I'm sure many of you who are subscribed to us probably watch Fabrizio's videos as well. We've known each other for a couple of years now, I think, right? Jeez, it goes by so quick.
That
Because I think
we
we
yeah,
linked up with Sharma, right?
that's correct. That's correct. We link up with Sharma. By the way, he came to visit me a few months back. We had a little paella here, and we talk about football. He was very good guy. And I remember, yeah, you were a guest on my channel, and now
Mhm.
finally I'm guest here among the two goats of Milan. So really, thank you so much, guys, for all what you guys do. And
No, of
yeah.
course. Well,
And
for
let's
like
bring up Milan. Yeah.
I would like to just say about your channel, and just for some people who may not know, for if that's a possibility, is that Fabrizio is, I think, one of the perfect and unique blends of somebody that lives in Europe, from the area, and speaks English and obviously Italian at the same time, because it just gives a different perspective for us. That's why we loved having Enrico on
Mhm.
as well, because the news and the way you guys consume things over there with Milan is very different, for the most part, compared to us. You know it because you primarily do most of your videos in English,
Yeah.
which is always great. It's so much fun to just listen to, and your videos are more of just a fan experience and your passions. And it's so funny when you're watching games too, because I think, what was it, a couple matches ago, like you must have had two phones when you were watching. I forget which one was it. Verona, was it Verona on your
Yeah.
phone? Was that the one?
Yeah. It was Sassuolo, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, geez,
It's
yeah,
it
that
was
one's
good.
great.
It was. Now I have to say that it's well, being Italian gives me the chance, of course, to reach a lot of informations that Italian news, Italian generally, Italian media, they cover a lot about football on Milan nowadays. In between Instagram, TikTok, the newspaper, we have a whole coverage. And really, since the last few years, finally we have also. I mean, Sempre Milan. I watch it pretty much every day because it's the same information that we have in Italy. We have it over there perfectly. You guys are, they're doing a fantastic job,
Yes.
and they really all the news, even if it's a gossip, is little rumor, it comes out on Milan News. And this one, few years back, wasn't possible. It was
Right.
hard to find a source, and now it's possible. So, and with your podcast, I mean, you guys covering pretty much everything. So I think we have a whole package. If you are a Milan fan, you know where to
A lot
find your
easier these days.
informations. Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, so we're so excited to have you on. Milan's in a much better position than the last time you and I did content together. Because I think that was probably the year Milan finished second, I think. It
Mm,
must have been in 2022, 23, something like
yeah.
that. But obviously, so much time has passed. Milan are pretty much rejuvenated, fellas, since then. The crazy statistic about this match and what Milan beat Cagliari, and I forget it because it happens every single year, but Sempre Milan and Milan Data put this out on Twitter. Rafael Leao has scored the first goal of the calendar year in 6 straight years for
Yeah.
Milan. That is insane. That is an oversight for us for not mentioning it for bets. But truly just a player that is really kind of evolving into a different type. And we mentioned last episode his injuries are kind of hindering him, guys, from playing the way he traditionally likes to play, because he doesn't have the acceleration, which I'm not sure that was a good thing for Allegri to admit to the public. But and Allegri's comments on Rafa as a whole are very unique because of him talking about drifting in and out of matches. It's much easier to get Rafa, focused when he's playing centrally as opposed to out wide, even though he's so much more fun to watch out wide when he's dribbling and taking on players. But again, guys, getting in good position to finish a chance on a weak foot doesn't matter if the keeper did poor on the near post. For me, seeing Rafa evolve like this into this type of almost like a poacher, right? The goal against Lazio was very similar in Serie A, where he's getting in the box and scoring difficult goals. Even his first goal of the season against Bari was kind of reminiscent of that, that he's getting in there and he's being more of a threat instead of creating. We haven't seen that more of a creative layout that we've come accustomed to over the past few seasons. So, Fabrizio, we'll start with you, and then Matt, we'll let you do your thing. What did you make of Leao in this match, and sort of how Allegri's been using him? Because it hasn't been easy. I know everybody's like, "Oh, Pulisic's production has been incredible," and it has. Pulisic's been unbelievable, but Rafa's like right there with scoring and the amount of time that he's played. He's not playing much. It could be a problem, but I think it's a fascinating thing to see him sort of evolve into a better goal scorer this year compared to years past. So, what have you seen from Rafa so far in these roles?
I go, Matt. You want to go first?
No, no,
No,
no,
you
Fabrizio,
go,
you
you
go,
go.
you go.
You're
I
the
go.
guest.
I go.
You're the guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Clearly, it's less spectacular as a first striker than left winger. We learn. We know Rafa as a left winger. It's incredible. Destroy every defense in Serie A, and that's why we love him. That's how we fall in love with him. But I think that has to be his natural evolution.
Yeah.
Now, I'm giving you an extreme example. Cristiano Ronaldo from
I knew you were
number
going that way.
7, exactly, playing a forward striker. Well, that's the idea. That's the idea. He has to be there, and I love that Allegri. Finally, we have a coach that it doesn't care about how the player feels. He knows what he wants. He tells the player what he has to do, and this is it. Now Rafa is fine. It's not spectacular. He's not the forward striker that we have all in our mind. He's not the George Weah. He's not the Oliver Bierhoff. Okay, he's not the Giroud, but still, with the system around him, it's working. It's not spectacular like this Milan nowadays, but who cares, man? We are all up there, and
Exactly.
for now, it's okay like this in Italy. When we will play in Europe, we are gonna have
Yeah.
to start to be worried about it.
Yeah, Matt, I agree with Fabrizio wholeheartedly. And the comparison of, moving a left winger or a wide player more centrally. I mean, even Mbappe's been doing that, but that's more because Vinicius exists. But it's still the adapting phase that he has to go through. And again, we say this all the time. He's not really playing off a striker this season. He hasn't. Everybody is kind of like out of position in terms of like what they naturally play as. So, you talked about this on the live again, just to after digesting it a little bit and not being at 100%, as you mentioned, to have that ability to be at the right place, right time, and put the ball away is nice growth from Leao because we never really kind of see this sort of efficiency from him because he's very inconsistent with his finishing. But this year it's been more consistent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're so accustomed to Leao being on that shoulder and having that sort of limited space on the left to be able to kind of scan and take on his marker whenever he sees fit, and he's been very successful at that. But obviously, it's a different adjustment. It's a different role entirely to have to play as a center forward. You're expected to scan more of the field and have an understanding and grasp of where the space is for you to exploit. And I think that's been the biggest adjustment for him. And I think it says a lot about Allegri, who's coached some really top strikers and players that have made that transition from a winger to a striker, right? We all know of players like Dybala and Ronaldo, who are players that, not are true strikers by trade coming up through the ranks in the early part of the career, but have had to make that transition over the years to be a striker. Dybala coming in from the right to the left and having to, you kind of understand space and windows of opportunity a little bit differently. And I think Leao, because of our situation, not having a true striker that's been producing, has been forced to be the guy, right? It's,
Right.
all this sort of hysteria surrounding, well, we don't have a producing forward, we don't have all these. And despite all that, you have two of players in Pulisic and Leao who are among Serie A's top goal scorers. who are not traditional, conventional number 9s. So I think we can praise Leao and Pulisic for the production that they've had this year. Absolutely, they've been very good in their own right. But I think a lot of the credit also needs to go to Allegri to be able to see these qualities in these two players, yes, but also get a player like Leao, who is a natural left winger, who has won Serie A MVP as a winger, has had big moments and won trophies at this club as a left winger, to say, hey, now you're a forward now. I need you to go out there and deliver and produce. That's how you're going to help Milan. That's how you're going to raise the bar. That's how you're going to get this team to the next level. So that's where I think what's really impressive about this whole thing is how Allegri's been able to basically get him to completely adapt and adjust his game to Allegri's own way of doing things. And it's obviously resulting in more goals. What I hope we do see is that fans give him a little bit more grace, right? Because now the conversation is going to be, well, I don't see him taking on guys as much. His dribble numbers are down. Maybe his assists aren't down. A lot of the assists he got was because he would square a ball into the box after taking a guy on, and our strikers would botch the attempt, sky it over the net, or wouldn't be there. So his numbers from an assist standpoint are obviously going to fall off. But I'll gladly take 15 goals, 16 goals in Serie A over 10, 11, and 6 or 7 assists for sure, because I think that's what we need from him this year and potentially going forward.
Yeah, and he only really got in a second here, Fabrizio. But to your point, the only really like assist of like a vintage Leao this year was against Roma.
Yeah.
After he took them on, and then obviously had that assist slotted back in. But yeah, to your point, I think Allegri's like, at this rate, my strikers aren't playing well. The best formation that I think I could field is a 3-5-2 at this moment in time, because like what's he gonna do? Like, this midfield is too good right now, and even if Fofana is like very inconsistent, but he does pretty well off the ball and winning the ball back, he cannot get rid of what Modric, Rabiot, Bartesaghi are doing, and how well Salamakers works on the side. I think he's just, Fabrizio, playing it down to, okay, they are not traditional strikers, but in terms of ability, quality, Pulisic and Leao, outside of Lautaro, Thuram, are the most productive players in Serie A the past 3 seasons. And he knows that if he's able to keep the both of them on there, put them in positions to produce, it's going to put Milan in a great spot. How are you feeling about us moving forward? Because we're going to get into the preview with Genoa and all these matches that Milan are playing, because I think there's some really positives that we could take away. With Milan playing once a week, there have been a plethora of injuries this year, a lot, and especially in attack. We're going to talk about it for who's available on Thursday. I think it's crazy that Milan are only 1 point off the top with all the injuries that they've had. The matches in which we've blown leads where we have 2-0 advantages on the Parmas, the Pisas of the world, Sassuolo as well. Just matches that Milan should not be dropping points. And yeah, sure, Roma not playing well against top sides, Juve or drawing against like Lecce, Inter still very good, same with Napoli. But we know like kind of these next 8 weeks or so, or the big stretches of how does Napoli and Inter handle Champions League, and how they adapt to Serie A, and then how will they move from there. So how do you feel about Milan? Is these next like 5 matches or so in the next 18 days a huge indicator for you if they could do it and win the title?
How superstitious do we have to do in this?
Be you.
I gotta be me, because of course it's gonna be it's tricky to talk, because of course we won the 3 points in every single match. That's what we wish. To me, in my opinion, the biggest change this year was the how this team can really suffer, absorb the pressure, stay compact, and then kill the match. We didn't see this for a long time in Milan, and this idea is it's scary for a lot of people, because they cannot. Oh, Milan doesn't play well, but Milan is flexible. Milan can resist. We suffer with the football that we are showing right now is not better football, generally speaking, than what we saw last year with Fonseca, or with Pioli. But in Italian league, you need to be you need to stay compact and have killer strikers. And now we don't have a typical number 9. We have a falso 9, we have a winger, and we have a left winger, and we have Nkunku that only Furlani knows why he is wearing red and black. However, we are up there with. I have here the stats. I did a little research before. Last season at match 17th, Milan was 18. Sorry, Milan were 8. Okay, and we are now what? Second. You know, and we conceded 18 goals. Now we conceded only 13. So it's an incredible achievement in my opinion that Allegri is doing. And the real question is, can we really actually play with Pulisic and Leao together? That's the real question that we will see.
I think the
We've
only
only
time
seen
they
it
started
once.
together.
We've only seen it once in the derby, and Pulisic
Yeah.
got a goal in that. I think it's driven largely by personnel and who the opposition is, because if it's a team that wants to play a little bit more bullish and have that sort of those brute center backs, and they're going to try to play that game, or they have those imposing center backs like Inter typically do, right? Over the years, it's Skriniar, De Vrij, Acerbi, Bastoni. Like, they have guys that are big, so it's difficult for Pulisic or Leao to break through or to be a presence with headers, right? You can't really play that game with them. On top of that, we don't have a lot of those big profiles that can allow us to play that, which I think is why I think largely we went after a guy like Fulkrug, because he is like a box bully, someone who can play physical, can get over the top and get onto the end of a cross. So I think it's matchup based, but I think this is just to kind of segue into the preview, this would be a really good opportunity to see how well it works, because we've only seen it once, and obviously the derbies tend to be cagey and the game tends to be a little bit open, right? Inter are not going to just sit here, we'll let you have the ball and we'll play to a draw. Right. They want to win. Milan want to win. It's open. That's where Milan really thrive, right? In a game against Genoa, where, look, they're trying to get results. They're going to try to play a game that's a little bit more conservative, not allow the stars of Milan to dictate and to get into spaces to score. Those in my opinion are the true tests, because teams like Genoa, Milan have struggled against this year, whether it be scoring goals on a regular basis and taking their chances, or killing the game off, as you've mentioned, Fabrizio, which has also been an Achilles heel as well.
Yeah, and just a segue to get into this one, I'm trying to just see where this one is being played. Yeah, this one is at San Siro. Sorry, for this. So we'll just go right into the preview versus Genoa, because we have this midweek match. We have had a couple clubs playing today. Roma, last time I checked, 1-0 up on Lecce. Como defeated Pisa 3-0. So I think Juve play later today. So we'll see what ends up happening there. There are a few injuries that I just want to bring up and that we tweeted out on the page for what moves we can sort of expect. And right here, as you can maybe see, it's Nkunku likely out for whatever the issue was that had been bothering him. We don't have official word, or I haven't seen that. Pavlovic obviously had the fever. That's when Bartesaghi slotted in, and Estupinian. And what a job by Bartesaghi in the absence. But Gabi and Pavlovic both back to being starters is huge. And a lot of what has to do with those first two moves up here, with De Winter in for Tomori and Yashari and Modric out, is largely based on the fact that we're going to be playing so many matches within the next 18 days. So we'll just start with some of the moves here, because I think this is obviously the biggest one because of the position, who's sitting and resting in this, and the opportunity that someone like Arden Yashari has. So, Fabrizio, I'll start with you. Yashari has had limited time so far, but we have seen flashes of his game. There's not much to take away so far. Obviously, his starts have come within Coppa Italia, so this would be his first really, really big one in terms of what Milan are going for in terms of prize, and that's the league. I think he's ready for this, and slotting him in for Modric is something that I'm not surprised by because of Allegri's words quite often. Because when we saw Ricci gets the start against Lazio alongside Yashari, the way Allegri views Ricci right now is more of a mezzala than he views him as a regista, which, you know, he was more so of a regista type at Torino. So it's a little bit surprising. And, you know, Yashari had been profiled as a bigger Bennacer, is what some people say. But, you know, Bennacer was capable as a regista. So for me, it's a huge leap to be put in here. But I think, you know, at home against Genoa, I know we struggle against these lesser sides at home. This is kind of a moment for him to cement himself as in someone that Allegri could trust. Do you agree? Like, what do you kind of feel about this? This is a huge start for him, and I know it's just Genoa, but as we fans know, you have to beat these sides in order to win this.
Something that I really hate about the Yashare situation, generally speaking, is what's happened before even he came to Milan. The 3 months of chase, the 37 millions, all the hype of this new player that it feels like Milan, all energy was going towards Yashari. That is who is the new Pirlo, so there is there was a lot of pressure over this player that you can see that is good. It's good. It's good. But in front of him, there is ex Ballon d'Or Luka Modric that it's impossible to move. However, I think it is necessary to play Yashari because Luka Modric next year is not gonna be there.
Maybe.
I think with how things are going, they're going to extend him.
Let's say maybe, but here is a question: would you build a team around 41 years old Luka Modric, or it's better to, especially if you only have the Campionato, if you play a match against Genoa, to play this 37 million player, you know, in the middle of the field together with a Lumberjack Fofana and Ricci. I think it's necessary to have him. You know what I mean? I think what he played. I think he started against Lazio, right, in Coppa
Lazio
Italia.
in the cup, in the cup, the Coppa Italia.
And that's it. He didn't start in maybe Sassuolo. No, maybe he came in with Sassuolo.
Came off the bench a couple times. I think the only games he's actually started was the cup game against Lazio, and during that little break in November, he started like a friendly game when we had like a 2-week spell off. I think for international games. That's really it, though.
That's really it.
He started against Napoli in the Super Cup, is what you guys were.
Okay,
so he started. Okay.
Yeah. But they're both cup games. He has not started in the league.
Yeah. So I don't think that this is a Yashari yes or Yashari no. Whatever is going to be the results from tomorrow, I think it's a kid that has incredible technique. He has very good vision, and it's not easy to step up in front of Luka Modric. But as Paolo Maldini always told us, competition in a team, it's very important. And it's the bar is reaching Luka Modric. I know it's going to be impossible right now, but I think he needs to step up and show us something. So I'm really curious to see how is he going to be playing. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, Matt, this is a big moment and opportunity for him. And to what Fabrizio was saying, you know, that long and drawn out transfer of his always feels like it's added pressure. For me personally, I think it deflated a little bit after the injury because we knew we couldn't see him.
Yeah.
True.
But I mentioned this to you quite often. What if he excels? What if he exceeds expectations for what people think? This could be an opportunity for him. I think this is one of those matches, guys. And Matt, you take it from here. That if he excels, if he plays very well in this one, Allegri understands the flexibility and trust of another player, that he doesn't really have to drain and zap Modric of energy like the match against Verona where he could put him on. It's okay. 65 minutes of Modric, and we see how good he plays when he gets this proper rest. How important is it, Matt, for Yashari to really start to cement himself, not as a starter, but as someone that is very reliable for Allegri down these next few months?
By virtue of Luka Modric being Luka Modric and being a high-class performing midfielder for Milan, he's afforded Milan the luxury of time to wait on a young player they've invested quite a bit in to grow, adapt, integrate himself into this team. Unlike what we saw with Charles de Ketelaere years ago, he was thrusted into an important role in the attack. And as soon as he stopped or didn't get goals or assists, the pressure mounted, the media narratives mounted, everything sort of consumed him. And that's really what drove him out of Milan. So I think by having Modric, an established veteran of high class and profile,
Right.
it's allowed Milan the patience to say, hey, we can put a Yashari in a low stress game, or should be a low stress game relative to the competition, in Genoa, and see what he's capable of doing. It's not, oh man, Modric gave us, Modric has only given us X amount of minutes. He hasn't been reliable. We haven't been able to play him that much. Now we need to play Yashari. Now we need to shoehorn him into a prominent role right away. And that's what the combination of guys like Rabiot and Modric have given Milan, is that time to pick their spots with how they want to use Yashari. Because even he's been back for a couple weeks. He's been back for about over a month now.
Couple months almost.
He's been kind of sprinkled into like these little cameos to play in this game, play in that game. But as far as you being a regular player, he hasn't really gotten those opportunities, or Allegri hasn't seen the optimal opportunities to play him because of how great Modric and Rabiot, and of course how necessary it is to play Fofana. So that's where I think this is a really great opportunity for him. And I tweeted this out before we went live. If not a game like this, then when?
Yeah,
you're playing once a week. If you can't have confidence to play him against a Genoa, or some of these other teams that are mid-table and bottom of the table, then when can you really feel that confidence? Are you going to bring him in for 15 minutes off the bench in a game where you're chasing? You're not going to take Luka Modric off unless he's injured, or unless he's banged up or doesn't have the lungs. So I think this is a really good opportunity for fans to see what Yashari can bring now that he's gotten that steady string of training with this group. He's in the day-to-day, and I think that we could see potentially, to use Cagliani's term, like a new signing. But I truly feel that Yashari can be a new signing for Milan in 2026 because we didn't see any of him in 2025.
Yeah, which is just the huge boost that we talked about, because our lack of depth this year is concerning. And hopefully, knock on wood, guys, that we survived that really tough stretch of like November, basically.
Where do you think we need the most? Where do you think Milan needs to invest the most? Which part? The striker side, the midfield, a little bit more of depth, or the defense?
I think for this season, the attack is what it is. I think they brought in full Krug, and that's it. And once Jimenez comes back, it's really going to be those 5 players.
And they're not going to get rid of Nkunku unless they are going to be at least break even. Right?
I agree with you. And I also just don't think Nkunku wants to leave. I don't think he's going to want to go now.
But I'm saying, unless
of course. I know what you're saying, but it's just, it's a nothing burger there. Center back is weird because of Allegri's comments were strange. It could just be like bullshit being put out there. So it diverts people from like what they're actually trying to do. But I find it very difficult to believe that they won't try to sign a center back. I think that's bullshit, to be honest with you. And then midfield is midfield. I don't see anything happening. I know these reports of, like Loftus-Cheek might go to Lazio because Guendouzi is going to Turkey. I'm like, no, there's no way. Allegri likes the guy. He constantly says it. If a sale of Loftus-Cheek is going to happen, I guarantee you that will be in the summer.
Let me ask you this, though. 2 things. Again, just playing conspiracy theory right here, or conspiracy.
We love it.
On Nkunku, right? Like, I don't know what his injury has been described as, or when, like, how long he's going to be out. Is this not a smokescreen? Because I know there is talks, and like reliable reports are also saying that, like Fenerbahce is making. Like they are courting Nkunku. Whether it's going to happen is a whole nother conversation. But is that something where Milan are trying also not to risk players because, hey, look, Nkunku did this a couple weeks ago. We don't need to sell him, to kind of maybe force the hand for a higher offer. That's number one. Number two, with Yashari coming back, Ricci, Milan obviously getting a striker, and hopefully some health coming our way in the attack, is now all of a sudden those minutes for Ruben Loftus-Cheek to find in the midfield going to dry up. This is also a player that's not under contract much longer than what?
Yeah, he has one more year.
Right?
I think that the Nkunku stuff is I think he's actually hurt. Because I don't think that they would like do that. Considering that we know Pulisic and Leao are not 100%. We've known this. I don't think and those are probably going to linger, those injuries, especially Rafa, if he can't accelerate. That's going to linger. Your other striker's out through February at the very least, right? Where he's missing multiple months. You cannot afford, and I say afford in the sense of sacrificing the team and selling off a player who might be out for a couple weeks and thinning your attack for an unknown in Füllkrug, who we only saw for 20 minutes. I think it's nonsense. I do think, however, that they do sort of these lazy links, right? Like Dominic Tedesco is the manager at Fenerbahce, who used to manage him back at Leipzig. Just like we see reports of, Allegri loves Federico Gatti. And, like these connections of like players who might leave their clubs, they connect them to these other managers like that they used to play for. To me, it's just hot air with that. I don't actually see Milan selling off anybody. If they do have outgoing players, it might be an Odogu on loan or other players on loan that you could see change things up. I do not see sales unless, to your point, it's record breaking. And with Loftus-Cheek, just to wrap it up, and Fabrizio, you could comment on this, obviously. I just don't see it with how much Allegri likes him, how he's been deploying him as like a false strike, whatever the hell you want to call him in attack, right? Where he kind of values him as a player to not just be a midfielder that can go box to box, but somebody that can go and attack. And, how we saw Pioli put him as a number 10 in his last, couple months or so with the club, and have him more of a goal scoring threat. I just don't see that happening because this side is too thin. The squad is way too thin to have players leaving. And again, to your point, I think the only way that it happens is if they get blown away with an offer. Now, Lazio might be getting around 50-something million for Guendouzi and Castellanos, which is insane. But it would have to be an aggressive Lazio. Am I seeing an aggressive Lazio moving for Loftus-Cheek right now? No. You could see something in the summer. But Fabrizio, you go ahead and answer those two.
To connect also why there is a lot of connection between Loftus-Cheek and Lazio for Sarri, because Sarri was the coach at Chelsea.
Chelsea, there you go. Another one.
So there is always some the media that find the dots and try to find a way to explain things.
Exactly.
I absolutely agree with you, Martina. I don't think that Milan will sell anybody, but also for another concept that Allegri and his team created a very solid group. I don't know if you guys have been seeing after the match when we finally celebrate, the whole team is together. It looks like we have a group of teammates, a group that believe
There's
that
some culture. There's some culture there.
Exactly. They are going towards a direction. Okay, remember last season after winning the Supercoppa, Calabria fighting with Conceição, you're like, what is going on?
Exactly. All of last
season. Here, all last season there was drama, the Theo, the Leao with Lazio, Calabria. I mean, there was, now it looks like we have a group, and that's number one things that Allegri did, it really creating a direction, give everyone the same direction. Now, can we talk about Scudetto? Honestly, it's far away, and we have competition with Napoli and Inter that if you watch a match of this team, you're like, okay, this team, they play good football, that they are very, very good. So it's still far away, but we are going towards a direction that for the last couple of years we didn't see. Numero uno. Numero due, talking about nobody I believe that is going to be sold because at the end of the day, if somebody wants to leave, also the player has to agree. So I don't think Loftus-Cheek agreeing to go to Lazio. I don't think Nkunku just moved a few months back to Milan from Chelsea. I believe also that Allegri and the team, they worked to try to get this player back to his prime, because we know he can potentially be really good. So I think there is a lot of work behind the scene that we don't see, of the group, let's say, try to set the bar and set the goal for everyone. And to see some of these players leaving now could be, I think Allegri is doing kind of kind of non-know things like grandparents, like trying to keep everyone under the same roof, try to keep everyone happy, because this season we have to go towards that direction. Whatever after, Maignan including, Maignan, Loftus-Cheek, or whoever is renewing, they're going to this direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, those are great points. Because they've had so much work cut out for them, Tade and Allegri, and how they had to stabilize the situation. To your point, it's a great one about Maignan and like the contract talks is like Tade. Every time you hear or read reports now, it's Tade is the one who's trying to ease the situation. Allegri and Maignan have a good rapport. Rabiot is somebody also that has kind of like been mentioned in these talks of, and he's even commented on Maignan, like, I'd love for him to stay. He's great. We need someone like him. I think those are all sort of positive signs moving in that direction. So to kind of get back to the match, fellas, because this is what we do too often. Fabrizio, I love your thoughts on this. So Tomori, getting some rest. He's been very strong this season outside of like, maybe a couple of performances that were subpar. But De Winter is someone who has really played well the past couple of matches after having really bad ones prior to that. And something that I had said and noticed, and Matt said the same thing against Cagliari, was that you saw a lot more confidence in this player than we saw in the previous matches, which is a very important thing for him, especially when he was out of position. Now, if Tomori rests and they put De Winter in, facing a former club in Genoa that he was just at, I think this is huge for him to kind of, again, similar to Yashadi, start to establish himself as someone that Allegri can trust and put in that other center back position, whether it's centrally or on the right side, to give these center backs rest, because we know this is our thinnest part of our entire squad is our center backs. De Winter, I think he's completely earned this start. I think Tomori's earned a rest. What do you think about De Winter starting against Genoa? I think this is another match for him to build more confidence off of, and hopefully he puts in a good shift. What do you think about it?
Absolutely agree with you, because it's a player that need to play more time to get along with the Gabbia, with Pavlovic, potentially also with Tomori. Tomorrow is going to be playing instead of Tomori. Now, I saw a little bit his limits in Supercoppa because Højlund bullied him, and I got a little bit frustrated, but maybe he was not in his position. Okay, I think he's a young player. Something that gave me also a lot of confidence, that I know that he wants to stay in Milan and want to do his best, also because he's fluent in Italian. And when a player that spend a lot of time, he starts to spend like 1-2 years in Italy, he speaks Italian. It makes me feel okay. He wants to settle down here. He really wants to get into the team and really want to become better and better. So far, we haven't been impressed with the Winter. I don't see many people wearing the Winter jersey when you go to San Siro. But yeah, I think in my opinion, yes, we need to see him a little bit more. And I'm not, again, he's very young. He needs time to play. I'm not calling him out if for one or couple of matches they don't go well. Even Gabi in the beginning was bad, so now he's our best. So.
Matt, he's been somebody that we've seen progress being made on. We've seen a couple players this season. Bartesaghi is one of them. Pavlovic, players sort of making leaps under Allegri. Again, to Fabrizio's point, bit of a rough start. Can't take too much away from that, but he has bounced back. It doesn't matter the sides that they're facing. Positive signs for De Winter. Do you like him starting against Genoa?
I do like him starting against Genoa. For one, obviously a familiar foe. He just came from Genoa, so maybe he has a little bit more of understanding of how they play in a given match. And I think obviously those are probably some conversations that him and Allegri have had and the group has had. Obviously that's all intel, right? And there is ability to look at matches and to kind of have an understanding of what Genoa do and want to do and so on and so forth. But I think that De Winter has earned this opportunity to get more minutes. And I think Allegri is trying to repay that, right? I'm not a believer in a player that's finally coming into his own, is picking up some positive form, and then all of a sudden you get that opportunity where to keep that form going. And how do you reward him? You put him on the bench. Now, obviously, Gabbia, Pavlovic, Tomori, that's been your primary three in the back. I get all that, but it's a long season, right? Gabbia is just making his way back. Pavlovic wasn't able to go last match. I think what De Winter potentially starting against Genoa does also for Allegri is to see and gauge how aggressive they may or may not need to be going into this January market, where if they can feel a sense of calm and confidence in Tomori, Gabbia, Pavlovic, and De Winter being your fourth option, maybe they could say, hey, maybe we need someone on that fifth option where we can loan out Ndogu, get him more minutes, but someone that as a security blanket we can bring in, versus having to go for someone that is a potential starting caliber center back, because the market then changes and the money shifts in a much different direction. Whereas if you're getting someone like a Simon Cagliari just to bring a calming presence and a veteran profile to the back line, that's an entirely different conversation than going towards someone who's going to cost you a premium. So I think that De Winter has a really good opportunity here to kind of quell some doubt and some sort of concern amongst the fan base and amongst Allegri and his group that De Winter can be relied upon. This is someone that had a difficult start, but is rounding into form for the second half of the season.
Yeah. Really huge stuff here developing for Milan over these next couple of weeks. So just a couple more things left to cover here. Lastly, on this one is Genoa predictions, gentlemen. So Fabrizio, as the guest, you go first. What is your score prediction? You can give us a goal scorer. You've seen the podcast. You know how it goes. So you have the floor.
Allora, let me think. Genoa at home on a Thursday night.
I always think about the weekday games against Genoa. I always go back to the Pazzini goal, man, every time. That was I specifically remember being at home, and that one was during the week.
Do you guys want me to give you some of the more recent results?
Sure, go ahead. So Fabrizio gets a chance to think a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
You have back to 2022, Milan 2-0, then 2023, Milan 1-0, then it was a 3-3 game in 2024, 0-0 in 2024 at the end there. May 5th, 2025, 2-1 Milan. So it's been kind of up and down. They've scored quite a few goals. I mean, obviously the players change over the years, so it's not like the like for like, Genoa plays the same way, but it seems like Milan has had some success, at least as far as scoring goals is concerned. So I know what my prediction is going to be, but maybe that helps.
I think it's going to be a very cortomuso once again, I believe.
Really?
It's probably going to be the most classic answer that we can all give. A cortomuso 1-0 goal probably in the last minutes on the first half, and that's it. I think it's gonna be the goal scorer. It can be. I hope it's gonna be Christian Pulisic. I really hope, because I don't want Lautaro to go too far away on the Classifica Cannonieri. So I really hope for him, and more than everything, I hope for no goal conceded. That's what I want.
Yes, agreed there.
Okay. So Fabrizio, you don't think it's going to be any sort of full crew goes into goal because Maignan gets a red card similar to that Giroud game? You don't think it's going to be anything like that?
No, I don't think it's going to be that crazy. If we were last season, I will say yes. We're gonna go for.
That's still like, I just looked at there was like a little graphic of like Giroud and like the goalkeeper shirt from that game, and I remember that game being like just absolutely diabolical.
That was also the one where I think Musa crossed it to Pulisic and it hits off the top of his arm, and then he scored.
And then it kind of sat at his feet and he just kicked Pulisic goal.
That was a big controversial one. Okay.
But that was at Genoa.
Yes, at Genoa. Matt,
Milan.
Your prediction. So Fabrizio has a cortomuso.
I'm gonna go 2-0.
Okay.
2-0 Milan. I think Leao gets a goal.
Okay.
And I'm actually gonna go Leao 2 goals. Penalty and a regular goal from open play.
Leao brace. That'll put him at 8 on the total. That'd be tied with.
Wow.
So more production from Leao under your prediction here. I'll go 1-0 Milan. I couldn't see multiple goals in this one. For me, it's about the intensity, and Milan kind of start off games very strangely. We've seen it against Atalanta, had a barrage against us, Roma's barrage that we somehow escaped. Even the match against Cagliari. I mean, Palestra scuffed that shot. It was terrible. Can we come out with aggressiveness and make sure that we aren't, it's fine if we absorb pressure, hit him on the counter, but I'm just interested to see how is Leao handling his injury. Same goes for Pulisic. I think Fulkrug will make an impact off the bench. I thought Fulkrug actually looked pretty decent, all things considered, against Cagliari. Not doing too much. Ball distribution was pretty solid. I think he'll actually play a big role in this one, considering the absences that Milan have and where, Leao and Pulisic stand in terms of their injuries. So I think that'll be big for them. I'm actually going to go Alexis Salamakers to score in this one. I think this is the sort of match that where he steps up on and is a bit more aggressive. He's had such a good season so far. So wins across the board for all of us. Real quick, I just wanted some quick comments on this as far as 5 matches in 18 days go. I think outside of obviously the Scudetto, final push or whatever you want to call it from March on, we understand that if they'll be in that conversation, that's obviously the most important stretch. However, this right here, the 5 matches in 18 days for Milan, playing once a week. This is really that mountain-like hurdle that this side has to go through in terms of matches being played so often. Because we know from pretty much after this, it's once a week, literally. Obviously, with the Como matches making up, with Supercopa is the reason why it's kind of condensed right now. How do you feel about them surviving this wave, Matt? Because it's Como a couple times. We have Lecce.
I got the schedule up here now.
Go for it. I believe we play Roma again soon, but they're not involved in this.
So Genoa on Thursday, as we've been talking about. Fiorentina, who I think have won 2 straight in the league, so they might be trying to save their season with some recent results.
That'll be a way.
And Como is the first of 2 over the span of 3 weeks. Lecce, and then Roma Bologna. So I can't say it's a soft spot for Milan in their schedule because they've struggled against some of these teams the entire year of this caliber. But I think there's a real opportunity for them to enter that mid-February, early March phase where they're in really good form. They got guys back. And when you talk about where the picture is as far as the Scudetto is concerned, by March, you want to be able to be right there, a point or 2 off the top. You keep putting that pressure on Inter and Napoli, who, as we've been mentioning, right, you'll have those extra fixtures in there because of Europe. And that's where you want Milan to be able to kind of capitalize and be able to maybe surpass them and be in the Scudetto. But 5 matches in 18 days, I mean, I think that this is where, again, to our previous points, right, Yashari, you're going to need him. You're going to need some of these guys to start giving you minutes because you can't keep trotting out Modric. You can't keep trotting out these guys that have been banged up and in and out of the team. So we'll see more Fulkrug. We'll see more Nkunku. We'll see more of these guys. And I think it's a really good opportunity to see, how deep is this team really? Because we've talked about the strength of the starting 11, 13, 14 players, but there's been real concerns about what depth this team has. So these next batch of games will really, in my opinion, be able to answer a lot about what our depth looks like.
Let me add to this that we have 6 matches and we have 2 of them. They are in San Siro. The rest, they are away because we're going to be playing in Firenze. We're going to be playing in Como. Playing in Como nowadays is start to becoming hard. Then you play in Roma and in Bologna. Okay, so very hostile stadium, very hostile, very tough. And let me say something else. We have less than 72 hours in between the Genoa match and the Fiorentina match because one is at Thursday at here 8:45, and then the Fiorentina in Firenze is on a Sunday at 3:00.
Yeah.
So it's not even 72 hours in between these 2 matches, and then you're going to Como. So. It will be tough. Here is a good prediction. Out of this, all this match, how many points you want to bring home?
So we'll say the next 5 matches. So we'll do the Genoa, Fiorentina, Como, Lecce. We'll keep it to and Roma's the other.
Okay.
I mean, it's tough. Milan, funnily enough, play better on the road with this team. They've been better on the road this year.
You got 15 points, right? So
I want 15 points, but I could see easily 12, 11 points. Como's difficult. The Roma away, I think we drop points. I think Roma is a super difficult.
I see 11.
Como kind of worries me. I'm not that worried about Fiorentina worry me in the sense of like they're a wounded animal, and that's a very scary opponent to face. That they have everything on the line. That like if they get anything result wise out of us, but they still haven't been playing well. Like I watched that game that they just won. That was in stoppage time. It was nothing impressive. To be like, oh yeah, Fiorentina are turning a corner. I think
there's nothing more dangerous than a team that's so desperate like they are.
Sure, but we could say that about a couple teams. They don't always play like that. I agree with you. I know what you're saying, but to me, what I'm seeing from Fiorentina, I think there's more pressure on them too. It's not sort of like, oh, we have nothing to lose. We have everything to lose. So there's more added pressure to a club like that when they're sort of playing these matches. They're more prone to mistakes. De Gea has been awful. Watch him have a great game. So I think it's more like 11 to 12 points. Would be what Milan need in order to pace themselves for the title, because I don't see Napoli and Inter dropping much in the league. Like Inter's so much of a juggernaut right now. I just don't see how they drop at this point unless they really struggle, because they have a tough stretch too with their 2 Champions League games. But yeah,
they have Champions League and Coppa Italia. I think they have in a month's time something like 8 or 9 games. Yeah. It's ridiculous. They literally play every 3 days.
And that's a squad that played through June, one of the older squads in the league. Manager again, this is like Kivu's done really well in Serie A. This is where Kivu has to, really make or break sort of moment. I think there's more pressure on Inter considering their squad. Final thoughts on that. We get to move on to the final subject of the day, which would be trying to keep it quick. It's Leao and Maignan. So these Leao and Maignan extensions have been subject to rumor a lot more often as of late, especially Leao within the past couple of days. Maignan stuff has been back and forth for the longest time. I think the Gazzetta dello Sport report on Maignan wanting 7 million and Milan agreeing to 7 million net was the funniest and dumbest rumor that I've ever seen, because that's not true. A 7 million net base salary would be a record base salary at Milan. Okay? So like you're telling me a side who rescinded an offer for 5 million. I understand Tade wasn't there last year. If he's renewing, it'll be around the 6 million area for the rest of his prime. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 3 to 4 years. I think the way everything is trending relationship wise, I actually see this getting done at this point. Just the longer that it's taking. Chelsea, like I've said, is a disaster. They're worse than us. They just have a lot more money. I don't think he's going to be leaving us to go anywhere else if our offer is decent. I think Tade, Allegri have done a good job with the relationship there. With Leao, yeah, I think this is a no-brainer. I think he gets this done. The amount of times that this player could have left us, and for very good reasons, he did not. He didn't. He didn't push his way out. I understand management was like, look to 175 million release clause. If you don't pay that, then you're not getting the player, which I could give some respect to this management. It's hard to, but I give some respect to them for that. Yeah, I see Leao saying, just extend it, similar offer. If he wants like, $500,000 or $1 million more, I think he's more than earned that. That'll put Pulisic in an interesting place for his renewal, which I think will also happen. But I think Milan know, with the way that they got the stadium locked down for the future and those revenue, and the likelihood of going back into European football next season, that Milan should be aggressive in making these renewals for these players. I personally think the way they're both trending right now, knock on wood, we'll see what happens, just the way it's trending in terms of news reports, options out there for these players, I think they both extend. So Fabrizio, what do you think?
I like your positivity. I like how you see positive things. In my opinion, unfortunately, if Mike wanted to have a renewal, he already I don't know. Maybe he was already accepting this. This is my view. Okay, I think Mike Magnan, when there was the Maldini situation, he was promised, especially the year with the Red Bird and Maldini, he was promised a certain kind of salary, so he decided to stay with Milan, and then Giorgino came out, say, sorry, we cannot give you those money anymore. And they've been this talking for a while. And now Mike simply saying, now this number or I'm leaving, this number or I'm leaving. I think it's all gossips going around about Mike renewal. If it's going to be renewal, which is going to be incredible, it's going to happen the same things that happened with TG Reinders last season, right? When he renewed and then a year after, I don't know, it was the same year or the year after,
A couple months
it's been
after.
sold. Isn't it? It was the same year, right? That he renewed and then
yeah.
they sold. So I don't trust. I don't trust if we are real Milanista. You think we think that Mike is one of the best goalkeeper in the world, and literally the team almost has to be built for him. The defense has to be organized for him, right? We Milanista we think thing, but they don't think like this. So they want to see how much they can age on Mike selling. They want to see the same things for Rafa Leao. Rafa, I mean, they are our Mike and Rafa Leao are our two best players, guys. So I don't. Of course, I want them to renew. I don't know if Giorgino wants. That's it.
I think the influence of Tare, Matt, and Fabrizio is huge in this because Furlani, when he was doing these things, it's off the back of like the Rangers sale was of there's no European football this year. He's in the prime of his career, different age. He extended with Milan, but City came calling. Furlani knew that the club was going to be in a worse position financially if he did not sell off this player. And he's been proven to be expendable so far, even though I think Milan still didn't get enough money on the deal. Matt, I just think that to Fabrizio's good points about worrying about these players leaving, and I agree. And it could happen, but Milan didn't even bend to Chelsea's like 20 million offer. They were like 30 million or nothing with 1 year left for a goalkeeper. So I think Tade in this and Allegri, say Milan win the Scudetto, guys, or like they're moving closer to it, or they lock up the Champions League. How could Furlani sit there and argue against the director and manager that he just hired?
So my feeling towards Maignan hasn't changed. I think he's going to leave. And I think what's going to happen, and this is just kind of me playing more on the pessimistic side of him in his career here or his future here, is Milan are in the midst of a Scudetto push, and he's playing at a very high level. Him doing all of this in the midst of now all of a sudden Milan trying to like backtrack and say, well, Mike, we want you to stand out. Come here, let's talk about this. Let's talk about contract. He's either going to throw an outrageous number out there that says, to Fabrizio's point, it's got to be on par with Leao, or I'm not signing, right? And I think that he has leverage in the sense that he's shown, hey, I've been a consummate professional throughout. I haven't gone to the media. My agent hasn't gone to the media. I haven't made this a big issue. I haven't been a distraction. All I've done through this entire process is go out there and perform like a top goalkeeper, and the top goalkeeper that I know I am. If he goes and he performs continuously throughout the rest of the season at this level, and Milan are Scudetto winners, he can go into the offseason and say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. You guys had your opportunity. You guys should have re-upped me when I was acting in good faith, because we all knew that at the time of him getting that possible first offer to, Fabrizio's point, things have changed. It ain't Maldini and Mazzara. There ain't no, hey, we got like a deal here, like a handshake. Personnel's changed. Philosophy's changed with certain players. And I just can't give benefit of the doubt that management will do the right thing, because Tijani signed, they sold him. I grant it, no Champions League. Teo Hernandez has been saying, hey, I didn't want the numbers that have been floated out there. You got rid of me and you forced me out. Davide Calabria has had very, very harsh criticism of this management team without naming names. Sergio Conceição. Mike Magnan's a professional, and he's not going to make it an issue because he's going to do right by the players in the group and focus on the objective. For me, on January 6th, if it hasn't gotten done now, I don't think it truly gets done. He's not 35, 36 years old. He could
He's
easily
30.
go back and get a 3-4 year contract from a Premier League team and make 10, 11 million a year easily. So
if that were to be the case, and if he wants to, I just think
let me real quick talk about Leao, because I think we need to give Leao, not us specifically, I think we need to give, as fans, Leao much more grace than I think we typically do. In that he's been here, he's won multiple trophies here. He's taken on the number 10 shirt. He could have left. In this landscape, in this climate of football, he could have said, I appreciate everything you've given me, Milan. I'm going somewhere else, and I'm getting 3 times what you're paying me. And I could still be a key player there. He's been staying. He hasn't caused a fuss in the media. He hasn't been dangling out any sort of, man, well, let me see what my future looks like. This team is interesting. We see it all the time with players. Alexander Isak, how did it work out for him? Right? Players that are trying to force and strong-arm the club into a move. So I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Like, fans, for all the criticism they've given players over the years, like, oh man, we sold this player. This guy has won here. He's 4 straight double-digit goal and assist seasons. Has been the constant punching bag amongst the fan base when we're not producing goals or we're not winning games. Well, Leao needs to do more. Now he's staying. We're sniffing a Scudetto. Fans deserve to give him more praise and credit. And I think he's absolutely deserving of a little bit more money that reflects where he stands at this current project. He's the longest tenured player at this team, I think, aside from maybe, Matteo Gabbia, because of his affiliation. Mm-hmm. I think that deal will get done and he'll see a slight bump in his contract. Maybe not right away, because there are other priorities with Tomori, Pulisic. Obviously, it's still a conversation with Maignan. But yeah, I think he deserves to get a little bit more of a bump. He turns 27, guys, in June. Just 27.
He will be turning, you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So really quick on the Maignan stuff. Yes, I understand the management side of things. I'm not saying give the benefit of the doubt to Tade and Allegri, but I think we have to at least step back for a moment and see if they're capable of reestablishing this relationship. Because accepting €5 million net was nothing. That was a very cheap deal that Mike had agreed to. Yeah. In my opinion, when you're talking about we say this all the time, the best players in the world, guys, we know they could leave. They could go get paid a lot more money elsewhere. And they chose to do that. He agreed to do that. And I totally see it from his side of view, where he's sitting there saying, this guy rescinded an offer from me when he had just agreed to that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the CEO having zero idea of how to handle any of this, where it was such whimsical, decision making. January, we got to get rid of Calabria, we got to get rid of Morata, we got to sell these players off. We can't have them here, even though we just brought them in, right? It was like, who is in the room to tell you that you're making too many hasty decisions, that you're doing a poor job of player-agent relationships? Because when there is no one in the room to tell you that you're wrong or to try and talk you down of what you're doing, that's a problem. I think when you have someone like Tade in there who is experienced, he is trying to establish the relationship well. And Tade does a really good job. Fabrizio, maybe you can attest to this. He does a fantastic job of pulling strings with the media. Sometimes I may not like how brash and outspoken he is, like with Jimenez prior to the Lecce match like a few months ago. But Tade knows how to pull on these strings here. It's not his first show. He worked for arguably the most difficult owner in this league, in Lotito.
The biggest problem, the biggest. Did you finish? Sorry, I just.
No, go.
Okay, now I was saying that the biggest problem for this management, it has a name and a last name, which is called Massimiliano Allegri. Because Allegri, he is very good with media. He is excellent with media together with Tarrant. He knows what to say and what to don't say. He will never attack directly this club. He will work with what he has. But if Milan will always be with under Allegri, will be back to be a competitive team, it's gonna be under the eyes of everyone that if you want to win, if you want to achieve, you need the kind of player like Mike Maignan. You need the kind of player like Rafa Leao. You need to keep the key player if you want constantly win and bring back something that is called Milanismo. Otherwise, you will be always, fighting between the 8th and the 4th place. Oh yeah, this year we can get in Champions League. Yoo-hoo! The Prince of Europe, the AC Milan, 7 times European of Champions League. They have to be happy to reach the 4th spot in Serie
We're
A.
constantly rebuilding too. Like,
and constantly building. So Allegri, it's very good for the team, but could be a problem for the club because it's raising the bar, and I'm not sure if they want to raise the bar. That's why.
Well,
that's why we love Allegri.
And then I'll. This is my final part of it. So far where they stand currently in the league table. They've overachieved this year. I know they crashed out of the Coppa Italia. Domestically speaking, they've overachieved. Whether I believe fully, I know Sempre Milan put out a graphic and it was like from Gazzetta, like listing their New Year's resolutions, like get back into the Champions League. How much ambition they have as an ownership group, I don't know. Because for me, the expectation coming into this season was, at a minimum, top 4. Like, that's what we're looking for. And if we're kind of flirting with the Scudetto, that's gravy. That looks amazing for us and for the numbers and for whatever. And for appeal as far as getting new players in. They're playing with house money now. So now, if we get Champions League, we're back in the Champions League. Get all the money that comes with that. We got the stadium. We signed certain players. Pulisic, the American player who's overperforming, we got him back. I just feel like Mike Maignan, unfortunately, is going to be kind of a casualty in all this. That they could have gotten the deal done, and I don't see them paying the premium that it will now cost Mike Maignan to change his mind to stay. Because it's not going to be 5 to 5.5 now. That's what it was. Then you rug pulled the deal from him. It's going to be close to what Leao is earning, in my opinion. And then on top of that, let me finish. You still got to pay Pulisic, and he's going to want something close to that as well. Tomori, a lot of renewals are coming up. So I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult than saying, oh, yeah, he's deserving of it. It's management to come with the money and say, it will pay you.
I don't agree because you're also cutting out Divock Origi's salary, who was a fucking deadweight. The guy was getting $4.5 million net. $4.5 million.
What a legend.
That's money off. You're back in the Champions League.
It's never been
not as much as you're thinking. It's not as much.
But it's never been about whether it's the smart deal or they can afford it. They could have afforded to spend more money.
Yeah, but that's past management. That's past management. I'm saying you have to give Tade and Allegri that.
Hold on. But do you feel right now Tare and Allegri have the autonomy to do anything?
There's a difference between autonomy and having someone's ear. There's a difference between the two.
I understand that.
So yes, I do think when
at the end of the day,
okay, let me finish this point. When you have the ability and shown what progress you've made with this core and this 11 after that disaster fucking season last year, yeah, I think you have the CEO's ear just a little bit more. I'm not saying they're going to give him 6.5, 7 million net to Maignan. No, I'm not saying that. Do I think 6 could happen? Yeah. Will they do Pulisic? Yeah, that's like a no-brainer for them. The stuff with Pulisic is simply because of he doesn't know the direction that the club is moving in.
That's concerning.
Because it was a cylinder of a revolving door of players moving out, and that was with the guy that was in charge as the CEO. I just think that with a little bit more stability in management and the manager itself, because we knew the first year that he came in, Pioli was on the outs. We knew it. That was make or break with him. That's not a sign of stability, and you know that. We all know that.
Yeah.
Nobody had been signed as a director. They get Zlatan in. God knows what his job is. Fabrizio doesn't know. You don't know. I don't know. Zlatan probably doesn't. Okay. And then we were all saying it. 0 experience. You got to get somebody in here to stabilize this situation. They got the manager to do that because he's more experienced than anyone else, regardless of what standards are, right? You're 100% right. They're going to be comfortable with top 4. We all know that this is okay, if we don't win the title, we're top 4. Okay, we're fine. Nobody will get fired. Nobody got fired last year outside of the managers that they brought in after that disaster.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Which is again, what we're talking about. I'm just saying when Tade is in here and he's already got a Salamaker's extension done, you know you're bringing in more of that revenue. And if our good friend Kush was accurate, and if we believe, but not Kush, because it was Jerry saying this, that they're going to reinvest some of this money, I don't think that they're going to be losing players for like stupid amounts. Like when Donnarumma didn't get the money that he wanted a few years ago, the club was in a completely different. That was I know that, but I didn't say you said that. I'm just giving like examples and like context to situations when they were like giving players certain money. They couldn't really afford to give Donnarumma that amount of money at that time. But when we're sitting here still being like fifth in terms of wages being shelled out, Roma higher wage bill, Inter, Juve, Napoli, all higher wage bills. Milan can sacrifice a couple million more to give to these players. And I think they can do it. And I think they can convince the CEO of that, because the shit that the CEO has been doing, cutting costs, giving all these wages out to different players, has not been working. And to your point as well, like Loftus-Cheek, that's another player who could go. He's getting like 3.5 to 4 million net per season. He's not cheap considering how much he gets paid relative to the rest of the squad. I don't think it's them breaking their backs to extend Maignan. Because if that was the case,
so either. It's just my final, and again, not to Fabrizio, and I'm sure we all got stuff to do, right? But
no, yeah, you're
what I'm trying to say is whether they have the means or capacity to give Mike Maignan a fair contract renewal is not the conversation. It's whether or not they have the decency and ambition to be like, hey, Mike, you actually deserve 6. We're going to give it to you. Or are they so stubborn and have so much ego and can't swallow their pride and say, hey, we actually kind of fumbled this. We made a mistake. Let's give you the money.
Well,
because
that's what they're trying to do.
Say what you want about the dollars and cents and the revenue. They've done a good job with that. If you want to give them the credit for that. When it's come to relationships with former players, coaches, how they've conducted, having Fonseca go to the media and say, oh yeah, I've been fired. And that's how we're fine. They've mishandled a lot of things. That's why I'm having some pause with whether or not they can get this done.
But that's why my pushback is that's all pre-Tade Allegri. And I think that's unfair to like group that. But it's unfair to just group that all together when two highly respected people enter the conversation. I'm not saying Maignan is definitely extending. I just don't think that we could fully use examples from the past when the situation was different and who's in charge and who's like, listen, final say is going to be Furlani. That's not changing. We know that. We all know that. I'm not stupid in thinking that's going to change. But what I am saying is there is somebody in his ear now to tell him, you're going to fuck up if you don't listen. Like the situation will get worse if you don't listen to this, because there's also like, to your point, right? And I think we've discussed this, and so sorry, Fabrizio, you're literally caught in the middle.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
These are conversations.
The thoughts. It's good.
But like the overall point is to like what you're saying, and I think you've said this in the past, Matt, is like you're going to have to now reallocate resources to sign a goalkeeper as opposed to just keeping the one you had and just paying him more money, which isn't like an absurd amount, right? Like we had in the past with this ownership with Elliott, with Redbird, they were fine with paying a goalkeeper $6.5 million net when we were in a far worse financial situation. I know it's Donnarumma. I know it's different. I know that. But I'm just saying like Tade could be somebody to do that. Now, will Maignan stay 100%? No, I'm not fully convinced like that. I think it's 60%. But the way Chelsea is right now, what other club is really going to be swooping in and giving him a ton of money? Maybe United. United's situation is a little bit up in the air with their kind of like, to me, it's sort of like Mike can look around with his options. And if Milan give him 6 million net and he's okay with Tade, he's cool with Allegri. Yeah, I could definitely easily see that getting done. I don't think Furlani presents as big of an issue as he was in the past. That's what I am assuming. I could be dead wrong, and the guy could just be, power hungry and just, he goes on a power trip. And
I'm just saying when we've expected and asked for him, whether he has different people around him now, yes, to do the right decision by the club. How many times has he actually done it? And actually, if you feel as a Milan fan, he's actually done, like, I think Furlani's acted really well here.
One time. It's only the Leao extension, and I'm pretty sure that was under Redbird.
And granted, we've gotten some of these other deals done. I just, again, I'm not going to let the successes that we've had this season and so far through on January 6th kind of cloud, hey, like, I can forgive, but I don't forget. You've sold.
I know. I agree with you. I
Ryan
won't
goes, oh yeah,
disagree.
Ryan, just give you the money, gone. And I get the times are different and the money's different. I get all that. Before the people in the
It's
comments
not.
and
Yeah.
will say stuff.
For me, it's not fully on the money. Final point. For me, it's who's in his ear to tell him that like us going to like sell off a guy, and we've seen it with like Tonali and like whatever other players that they had gotten rid of, or we see the squad regress because they weren't willing to pay a little bit more money. I think I'm just saying, I'm not guaranteeing this.
Yeah.
If Tade is there to say, yo, listen, Lazio, we were not very competitive. We held on to that core. We paid them the money that we thought they deserved in extensions and keeping that together because we know that's our best path to win. And he did that in a far worse situation.
Yeah.
I think there is that influence that he can have. And when you see that the reports are saying, and Fabrizio, maybe you heard different out there, that Tade is the front man for these negotiations. That Furlani is not involved whatsoever. They don't want him, but Furlani is going to have to obviously agree to like, okay, listen, I may not agree or have rescinded the offer from last year. 6 million, if that's what you want as the director and you think that's good, this won't mess up our finances going into next year. That's the move you want. That is what would have to happen. I don't think that's completely impossible, is my point. With Tade here. If Tade wasn't here, I'd be like, Mike's gone. He would have been sold in January, by the way. The only reason he's here is because of Tade and Allegri. Furlani would have accepted the 20 million and Mike would have gone with 1 year left. He would have said a goalkeeper. That's the way that guy works. I just think Tade has a little bit more influence.
Well, I like that you truly believe in Tade because anyway, yes, he's bringing a little bit more of. Yeah, who was that?
It's very flawed.
Yeah, but I don't know if eventually Furlani will listen to Tare. That's the biggest things because he can if the coach is asking if the coach and Tare they're asking Højlund all summer why we come with Nkunku because it costs the wages are lower. If Furlani if Allegri is asking a certain kind of players and he comes back with something different, I don't know. It's we all lost so much trust in this club.
Absolutely.
That's the reality, and we always have the doubts: are they doing this because of Milan? Are they doing this really for the best of Milan, or they're doing because at least I don't lose the 6 months of contract so we can resell him to Chelsea for 30 million. We're gonna get the Suzuki, the Parma Japanese player so we can get the viewership from Japan. I mean, the peace of mind that the peace of mind that the Milanista is missing is, again, I'll bring it back, the name of the legend, the Paolo Maldini, because you knew that anything that will be done is because of the good of Milan. Then he did, I'm not saying that he did all the best. He did a lot of mistakes, Paolo. Okay, he did a lot of mistakes, and like everyone. But with this club, you always have the question mark. Are they really doubting Mike Maignan? What to doubt?
You're right.
Just how much he's asking more? 3, 4, man. You're building a new stadium. You would have money also for this. Come on. Anyway.
And it's and the final point is like we talk a wage bill. The wage bill is not that much, but for what this club is, the money they make, the wage bill is.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's never been whether they can afford it. They could have afforded.
No. I know. We all know it. That's why we gotta know how many episodes we have where we're
whether
like,
we know they have the capacity to do it. It's like you can, but they've just chosen not to do it because they want a little bit more money in their pocket or they have other motives.
Yeah, I mean. I think as far as like extensions go, I don't like. I was actually surprised they even extended Leao when they extended him, and stood firmly pat on 175. I would have thought like if 110 million, for example, comes their way, I thought they would have sold him. Honestly, I was stunned that they stood firm on 175, genuinely. So, but But we all know the trust goes out the window because the obvious symbol to what Fabrizio was saying was he was sold to Newcastle. The second that happened, if it was any other player, honestly, like not Leao excluded in this, like say it was Benacer, he was injured at the time. Say Benacer went out for 35, 40 million. and then they brought in like other players like a TG and a couple other players, I think more people would have trusted it. But when you sell someone like Tonali, and we all knew it, we're like, no, this is whatever direction we're going in, we don't like it. Because we know that, to what Fabrizio's point is, you don't have the best interest of the club at heart.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
And by
That
the
was very
way,
long and dragged out.
by the way,
So
Rafa Leao was renewed by Maldini. Yeah?
I thought it was Redbird actually that went
It-
through
it-
with that.
Maldini was
well-
technically still, because I remember the graphic was Maldini and Mazzara with him.
Exactly.
He
was
did say Furlani had like some help.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking
Yeah.
of? It was the first year of Redbird's ownership that they were owning the team, and like
Possibly,
the management mess up, but the ownership was right.
Redbird and Furlani essentially like green lit the deal.
Yes.
But it was them as directors that got the deal done.
Correct. Yes. Sorry, that was the conflation I had.
Oh, it's good. It's good. All right. Well, that was cool, man. That was
but
good podcast.
It's annoying.
Good infos.
It got. Listen, I'm me and Martino. Like I like having those back and forth with him, because like I think if you don't bring those conversations and it's just I agree, you're right. People come here and they think that we're just like Furlani apologists or.
Yeah, there's like a famous quote by a politician in America, and it's like, if you have 10 issues, right, presented in politics, if you agree with 3 of them, don't vote for me. If you agree with 7 of them, vote for me. If you agree with all 10, go see a doctor, because you shouldn't be agreeing with them. Because you can't do that. Me and Matt probably agree on like 9 out of 10 things. Yeah. And this wasn't even that much of a disagreement. That's as much as you'll see. But Fabrizio, sorry for getting you in the middle of that right towards the end of the podcast. You've been an amazing guest. I love talking to you. I love your videos. I think everybody should love your videos. Just like the input and insight that you have from your side of the world is always terrific. You're such a nice person. You always do right by the people that you talk to. The energy is so beloved by so many people. So again, guys, if you have not seen him by any chance, which I highly doubt at this rate, please go subscribe, check out all of his stuff, videos on a weekly basis, depending on I guess how many matches are played, right, Fabrizio, on what the amount of videos that you get uploaded. But again, just to finally put it again at the bottom here, everywhere else, right? Oldheart Rossonero on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anywhere else?
That's it. Oh, I have TikTok, but
yes, I know. Yeah, I kept badgering you to get on TikTok.
I wanna say thank you so much, guys, for inviting me. You guys are really the pioneer, and is a little bit
too nice.
It's the referral for a lot of Milanista and a lot of fans that they are getting into this world. And I think, so what the word that you say today about the Milanismo, about that kind of feelings, it's really rare. And even though this is something that I would say to also to your communities, even though sometimes things that are said, they are a little bit angry, a little bit negative, it's not because we are negative and we don't like this. It's because we are us three and others, of course, are very critical, and we want the best out of this club. Yeah. So if we say we love the team, but we don't like how this is managed, it's not that we don't love everything. It's because simply we have a vision that it's common, and we would love to share and it's gonna be good for everyone. But other than that, really, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Martino. Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. And sempre Forza Milan.
Yeah, and then real quick too, Fabrizio, just kind of piggyback off that. I always say this. Martino always says this. Like, people think we're creating, and it's just like this huge enterprise. Like, we're taking hours out of our day today to do this, and it's because we love the club. We want to see the club, achieve what it's supposed to achieve relative to its history, and more importantly, like the community. We love the community. We're here to create for the community. Having creators like you on, and so many of the people in the comments saying how much they love the podcast, and they love, when we put out content, because it's something they look forward to. Like, that's what we truly enjoy. Like, that's why we're here. It's to build and create this community with you and so many others. So a big thank you for the time you've given to Martino and I today. And of course,
it's a long one. This might be a record.
Yeah, it's just we really appreciate
Is that the record?
I think so. Yeah, I think that this one we're
Let's
almost
go.
an hour and a half. There's gonna be a lot of people that are just gonna see like the run time of this and just be like, "Holy shit, an hour and a half of this." It's well worth the wait because I think the apex of the episode is like an hour in. So,
wow.
but
exactly,
but yeah.
we started very slow and then
Fabrizio he was forced into playing in the mediator at one point. He's in the middle frame.
He was lit. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I was like, you're literally caught in the middle of this. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I was like, you guys have this, right? Because you have this, right? If Martino started raising the words, then Matt, what the hell are you talking about? Like they know what they're doing, so I'm not gonna be like I'm in the middle in the frame, but
jump in anytime. But yeah, seriously, I echo Matt's sentiments there. They're great. We appreciate everybody that does that kind of stuff.
But,
and Matt,
you know,
again,
if we don't put passion in this, where else we put passion in it? This is our things, right? This is, I mean, especially for you guys that you know, you're from America, so watching a sport in a different time zone without a media coverage as we have it in Italy, without the people, maybe, you know, you have a lot of people that they look in the Premier League, they look maybe some people look at the La Liga, not many people look at the Serie A, right? And then to find a community that only follow Milan, it's really unique. So let's keep doing, absolutely. Let's keep the grind on, and let's go for the second star.
Yes, absolutely. And again, you can follow Matt everywhere at Matt_Santangelo on Twitter, at AC Milan Bros, the account that he runs with his brother. And again, at Matt_Santa22 on Instagram. He's making strides. He's telling me about it every day. It's like when your kid comes home to show you all the artwork that they've done and they want you to put it on their fridge.
Like the little noodle necklace and the little
very good, man. Except the guy's older than you. But yeah, he's doing great work. He's evolving, so that's good news. He's very excited about all of it, so go and support it. And you could obviously go and follow all that. Oh, and also probably the one thing that you may have noticed, it's like a slight thing. It's not that big a deal, but obviously the channel is now called That Milan Podcast. I had a lot of work from my past that I had on here that really boosted the channel significantly because Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo just dominate, you know, media. But it is what's best for the podcast. So like the other account that I had been running and putting in the description is more of my personal one that is going to have all American sports on top of this soccer sometimes. But this is strictly all your Milan podcast stuff. So everything is going to be on here from now on. Again, going live on Thursday after the match against Genoa. Thank you to Stinker for giving all of our beautiful thumbnails. Thank you to Fabrizio for spending an hour and a half of his time. It's getting late over there, so I got to let you go. And then again, yeah, guys, Martino Puccio everywhere. We appreciate all of you. Yes. We will see you in a couple of days. Take care.